20. He separates. He's to the 20, to the 10, to the 5. Touchdown, Florida State. Warwick got a third down.
Winky looking Winky. Wants to throw the knockout punch to Warwick. Warwick open. Touchdown. He does a touchdown. He did catch it. Touchdown, Florida State. Oh, Peter Warwick, how'd you do that?
Herman Whitfield to the left side. A hole to the 30. Herman Whitfield to the 30. To the 20. 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, FSU. Herman Whitfield. A 100-yard touchdown.
Here's the snap. Winston rolling right. Throws the pass on the other.
It's caught. It's caught. It's caught. Touchdown, FSU. Kelvin Benjamin.
We're doing it for everybody. We're doing it big all over the country, all over the world. And I'm proud. I'm proud to say I'm a Florida State Seminole.
This is the Garnet and Old Podcast with your hosts, Ryan Eastman and Vince Ciccarelli.
It is Thursday night. It's 7 o'clock. You got the Garnet and Old Show. I'm Ryan. That's Vince. Vince, how the hell are you, man?
Go Noles. Let's say go Noles first.
Go Noles.
Go FSU.
Deflect the haters, right? I'm deflecting all day.
You got to put the shields up. You're in Minecraft, and you know the haters are coming after you. You gotta duck and cover. Here they come.
For sure. And we're broadcasting live right now in a bunch of different areas on the Garnet and Old YouTube channel, the Your College Sports Connection channel, which, by the way, if you guys have not subscribed, subscribe. Your College Sports Connection. We have people all over the country doing different team coverages, different conference alignment discussions. It is the place to be if you want this kind of content talking about your favorite sport, college football. So guess what? Go to Your College Sports Connection, like and subscribe. Go to Garnet and Old, like and subscribe. And you know, if you're here watching live right now, throw some questions in the comment. We're going to be having a great time tonight, Vince, because it's not like anything happened this week, right?
No, it's not. And just to do a little more pub there, the Your College Sports Connection network is fresh and new and made up of a bunch of really passionate streamers, YouTubers, influencers from all over the country, just like Ryan said. And these guys know what they're talking about. And they've collaborated on some of our stuff, and we've been on theirs. It's a great group to be a part of, you know, just to pump it up a little bit more. Yeah, there's been a lot going on this week.
Yeah, I came prepared. Me and Vince both came prepared.
We did.
Don't let the Tervis fool you. That is not water that Vince is drinking. Vince, what do you got there?
It may be a little concoction of margarita. It may be possibly. Because it's, you know, I'm tired. I'm tired from everything that's been going on this week. I've had my guard up, trying to get ahead of the game here. And but let's get right into it, Ryan.
Vince, we're going to get into FSU specific stuff real quick, but I do want to acknowledge a few things. I'm not going to say we are right, except for this once, and it applies to the whole episode. Vince, we are right. And if you had any doubts that Garnet and Old and Your College Sports Connection can bring the news to you, the stuff we're about to talk about, we've been reporting on, and people on Your College Sports Connection have been reporting on for 5 to 6 months at minimum. So let's start off right away. Vince, we got it right. Your College Sports Connection, all the people involved got it right. Colorado to the Big 12. Everyone said it couldn't happen, right? It's impossible. Why would that happen? Why would the Big 12 want Colorado? And everyone on our network has been saying it was going to happen. How do you feel, Vince? We are truly vindicated.
Well, I mean, I don't want to say we were the only people saying it, but to us it was obvious. To the folks in the group that we're with, it was obvious. First of all, let me just say, Colorado belongs in that grouping anyway, right? Them going to the Pac-12 years and years ago, it just never felt right. And so they're, you know, coming back home, and that's where they belong. And they made the smart move. Go figure, you know, they made the smart move earlier than a lot of other teams in that conference who have not made that jump yet. But we believe that that's going to happen.
For sure. And guess what? Those teams that we've been reporting on, Vince, for weeks now, right? It's University of Arizona, Arizona State University, and Utah. Guess what? it's going to happen. And Vince, it could happen as soon as tomorrow because there's a lot of meetings happening tonight, Board of Regents meetings.
Yeah, and Ryan and I may not be as dialed into to that area of the country, and although we are more now,
Yeah.
we're definitely more so now, and we do. I mean, just from the vibes we've got, the people we've talked to, the people in the back channels that we're talking to all the time,
Yep.
we believe that's going to happen tomorrow.
For sure. I mean, it's absolutely imminent. I think it's going to be very similar to the Colorado situation. I think the teams involved announce, or at least through reports like on major publications, they intend to leave the conference and go to the Big 12. And then I think shortly, either tomorrow evening or possibly even Saturday sometime, the Big 12 officially will put up the banner, welcome, these three teams to the conference. So exciting stuff, but that's not where it stops, Vince. The Big Ten, which is what kind of the side of things we've been reporting on, and we've had a lot of people in our comments and our DMs saying, no way, you guys are crazy, it's impossible. So let's start off with the non-Florida State part of this. So Oregon and Washington have been names that we have been talking about for a few weeks, and all of our network has been talking about it for a few weeks. And it looks like, well, it's actually confirmed today because you have ESPN reporting and Yahoo Sports reporting. And I saw the quote earlier today that there is no more financial investigations needed for Oregon and Washington. They have, and this is a quote, everything they need to make a decision on Oregon and Washington. So that, to me, Vince, is as done a deal as what we're about to talk about. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, what's left that in that scenario is figuring out if those two schools make sense from a dollars and cents standpoint. Like financially, they know, right? But on a return on investment side, like,
Yep.
Does it make sense? I think that's the only thing possibly that's holding that up at this point. So, but yeah, I mean, I think that is going to happen as well. But just by saying that, like, well, you were saying, Florida State is looking at the Big Ten is looking at Florida State. They're looking at Clemson, but you're wrong because they're looking at Oregon and Washington. Yep. Those two they're not one or the other.
Yeah, they're attached to the hip, just like Florida State and Clemson are. And we've been reporting on this the whole time. And guess what? So last week we came on here. I think I put it at 60%. You put it at 40%, that we said we believe before the 15th that Florida State would announce that they're leaving the ACC. And then 2 days ago in our private network chat, I am now predicting 100% it's happening. And I did put my reputation that the first announcement would be at the Board of Trustees meeting yesterday, and we're going to get into that. It all started with Peter Collins on warchant.com's interview the day before on Tuesday, being a little coy about it, but basically saying this is untenable. Florida State can't do this for much longer. We cannot stay in a conference in which we're behind that much. And it was a lot of that kind of, I guess, just touching on things, but not really going too hard on things. But let's get right started on the Board of Trustees meeting, because that's where the action is. And Vince, follow the breadcrumbs, because when we read the schedule on the Board of Trustees meeting, right, it looked very boring at first glance. And we were actually having to correct a lot of people because they were saying, well, the booster loan could be the buyout. And we were like, no, it says specifically it's not that.
Some kind of equipment, right?
Yeah,
some kind of facilities, some kind of equipment.
But let's follow. Here's why I predicted the 100%. Like, they're going to announce this at the Board of Trustees meeting. But it was fun because it's like a treasure map. Follow the breadcrumbs on the Board of Trustees meeting. Vince, start us off with the first two items on the list.
Well, I mean, they're boring items, in and of themselves, unless you put them in context of what's currently going on. And let's I just want to get this out there, and this is true. Florida State was going to allocate these funds regardless, right? But it just so happens that during this Board of Trustees meeting, they are signing off and agreeing on allocation money for FSU Health, and clinical research, and doing a cooperation with Tallahassee Medical Center, and some things about Mayo Health, right? And so that is not lost on me, right? That is out there in the open. At that point, there were, I think, 1,500 people watching on the live stream.
Yeah.
1,500 people watching a Board of Trustees live stream.
Yeah.
And that's what you're hearing first. And there was a couple things centered around that, right?
Yeah.
There was also, and I didn't put this in our notes here, but there was also some items in there about the College of, or the School of Engineering.
Yeah.
Some money, a lot of money allocated toward that, because there has been some naysayers out there about there's no way Florida State is going to ever get AAU. You're going to get in the Cool Kids Club.
Yeah.
Unless because you share an engineering school, right?
Yeah.
Well, that, first of all, that's hogwash, to use an old man term.
Right. That is very old man of you, though.
It's an old man term.
Yeah.
And then we get to the one that everybody was all up in arms about, or thinking like, this is it, this is it, this is it. It is it. It's not what everybody thought it was.
Yeah.
What was it, Ryan?
Yeah, it was jets, private jets for the boosters to use for athletic purposes. And I'm going to be honest, Vince, at this point in the meeting, I'm going to put my Vince cap on. I bet you were thinking it was going to be this, which was a clear sign that we were looking to travel further with our teams. And then I'm assuming you were thinking maybe they would, again, reiterate some of the things that they said on the interview the night before. But when they announced, Vince, that they want to buy 2 aircraft, one smaller one larger one, my favorite part is that they were arguing on like how much planes cost and like would that be enough. They're going bargain bin hunting apparently for used planes. But hey, you gotta stay on budget. When they started down that, here's where I knew I was going to be right, Vince, is the moment he said, usually we leave the part in which the athletic director and the president give a state of the program at the beginning, but we thought it would be better to save it towards the end. The second he said that, I'm like, there's no reason, if this was it, like just covering these items, that we were going to stop here. So when the camera focused in on
Peter Collins,
on Collins, and he started in on the conversation, I'm like, okay, we're going all in. And I thought it was going to just end with him basically indicating, hey, we're making plans to leave the conference. But then, Vince, they did this whole round table. What did you think about the round table?
Well, I mean, before the round table of the trustees.
Yeah.
I mean, before that, I mean, so do you get a president come into a Board of Trustees meeting to kind of get a State of the Union? Yes, you absolutely do. That's normal. That's normally at the beginning, but it's at the end.
Yeah.
When all the business has been, the scheduled business has already been done, and they go in on him. And at this point, I got to tell you, just because, there's this kind of this buildup and your heart saying, hey, I want this to be about what we've been talking about. My heart starts racing.
Yeah.
Right. And then I'm thinking, well, maybe it is not that big a deal. But then he starts hitting some points. And the more he talks about, the more I'm going, I'm feeling like we've been nailing this on the head.
Yeah.
We've been nailing this on the head. We've been, and those of you that are watching, listening, you could say, yeah, well, obviously, they're going to try to rattle their saber or whatever. But understand that saber rattling to this degree in this public forum with the president of the university is very different. It's another level.
Yeah.
It's another level.
Because generally you would hear saber rattling from the athletic director on some publicity tour or like boosters tour, and he's given some quotes about the state of things. But when the president says it, and by the way, they knew full well that they had a ton of people watching and people in person. They knew it was going to end up on ESPN. It was not just a casual, like, we'll see if we can make it work, but it's tough. I knew it was serious. The best quote came from, former quarterback Drew Weatherford. He still looks pretty good. He does.
He does.
It's been a long time. 2006 was his last year, I believe. But yeah, Drew Weatherford, who is a decent quarterback at Florida State, but definitely was not a Hall of Famer. But Board of Trustees member. And Vince, when he said to me, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of how and when. That's not saber rattling. That's telling you what the intentions are. Saber rattling would be indicating that there might still be a way to get this fixed.
When you look at it,
Yeah.
When you look at it holistically with all of the trustees that spoke, everyone was on the same page. They are not going to offer, of course, they're going to offer up to comment, right, for all the trustees, whoever wants to say whatever. But at the end of the meeting, when they're going to go one by one with the trustees, everyone knew ahead of time.
Yeah, they weren't surprised at the topic.
No, Ryan, I want the Florida State University Board of Trustees and the Florida State University Athletics Department to handle the Garnet and Old marketing firm.
Yeah.
They are going to do a slow burn build to the ultimate apex. Get you some.
Yeah.
The first thing he said that caught my ear, I think was the first thing he said was, do we want to play games or do you want to compete?
Yeah. Yeah, it's important that he said that, and there doesn't get a whole lot better than that. And what I liked most about it is everyone kind of said the same thing, right, in different ways and different tones. But then my favorite moment, Vince, of the whole thing was the caginess of like, hey, they're in a public forum, we can't say this, meaning that he would need an executive session to give details of what had been talked about in detail, which although he said he has already provided them updates as they've gone. But the caginess when he kind of half smiled and said, it might be sooner rather than later. And if that happens, we can always schedule a meeting that's not currently scheduled. And then he went on to the FSU LSU stuff. But the point was, why would the president why would Jeff Collins go and say
Peter Collins,
sorry. Why would he
not the coach from Georgia Tech?
Why would he go and say sooner rather than later? And if we need something earlier than September 3rd, we can just schedule it on the fly. Guys, what we've been reporting, I said that it was going to be announced at the Board of Trustees meeting and that we would officially submit to the ACC in written or whatever, legal way.
Whatever the means is.
By August 15th. And that is what's going to happen. And I am fully believing that that Peter Collins and the rest of the Board of Trustees knew that the Pac-12 was about to fall apart. They know that Clemson is probably right there with us, just waiting to do their thing with us. Maybe a few other schools, who knows? But all this was planned because the second FSU announces making it clear they're going to leave, that puts even more urgency on the Pac-12 schools that are trying to go to the Big 12 to get it done because they're seeing, oh, well, we don't want ACC schools, to be considered instead of us. And it just speeds everything up. Guys, I will promise, this is a promise for me, we will announce we are leaving from the ACC in legal written form by August 15th. What do you think, Vince?
A Big Papa East guarantee.
That's a guarantee.
That's a guarantee. Let me just say that I'm not 100% on that. And here's why. Because I'm going to leave open the option that because of the legal proceedings that are going to come from this, I think Florida State, and I tweeted this out today when I was trying to not get involved, by the way.
Yeah, I tried to stay off social a little bit more today than the other day.
Florida State is trying to do everything they can to present, when it comes time, that they were trying to make it work.
Yeah. As
much as they could.
Yep.
They were going to go out of their way to make it work. A couple people, or a lot of people today have been talking about how this is like a divorce.
Yeah.
Right. And so, we have irreconcilable differences.
Yeah. We just had the argument and we said, I want a divorce, but we have not submitted the divorce paperwork yet.
Right. But that's, that's kind of the deal, right? We're trying to make sure when it comes to that, because it's going to come to that. is that, at least a positive in our direction is a year ago or more, we were letting the conference know that what was currently going on is not going to be acceptable.
Yep, for sure. You had to. And Vince, the reason why I'm so definitive on it is because I believe that they, in order for any of these conferences, in order for the Big Ten or the SEC to say, hey, Florida State's going to be a member, they have to announce first to the ACC that they're leaving the conference. When they announce that, I'm sure other teams will also be, in fuego, quickly trying to find their landing spot. And I think I don't think we get the announcement, by the way, by August 15th, that what conference we're joining. I think they'll know what that is. They'll submit that we're leaving the ACC. And I think it'll take a few days to a few weeks for an announcement to come out that they're going here or they're going there, because I think they know where they're going to go, but they know they have to get some of the other things to happen first. I think what they hope happens is that Florida State and Clemson both announce they're leaving the conference on the same day. If it happens, it'll be on the same day. Maybe on the same hour, at the same time. What they're hoping is when they do that, 6 other schools join them at minimum, and then it just dissolves, and they can say they're going wherever they want to go, and any conference can accept them, no holds barred. But if they don't get that, and it's just FSU and Clemson to begin with, well, then they got it. The lawsuits will be filed, and it'll be all this legal stuff, right? But I still think they're going to announce that they're leaving.
Here's why they're not going to say where they're going. Because if they already know where they're going, that means there's been interference.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's no way they're going to do that. The first thing that they're going to do is say, we don't know where we're going. We don't know what the future holds, but the future is not in the ACC.
Right.
That it would be silly for them to announce where they're going to go. We put a couple comments up there a minute ago. We were saying that, across the board, the trustees had talking points.
Right. They knew what they were going to say. I believe they wrote it out and knew.
And they covered all the bases, right?
Yeah.
They covered obviously that it can't go on. They covered that it's not just about football, that it's about the other sports too.
You had the lawyer driving her car on the call.
Right. They talked about Title IX.
Yeah.
They talked about how it's not it would be out of we wouldn't be fiduciarily responsible if we did not take the best interests of our university to heart. That's their responsibility to do that.
Yeah.
And they were all in lockstep with that. So, but let's go back to kind of what you were saying about Clemson, whatever. So this is something that I think a lot of Florida State fans are kind of, wondering, they're kind of doing this. They're going,
yeah. Yep.
Where's the Magnificent Seven now?
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's planned.
Yeah. I think they know, and they have known for at minimum a month or two, what their definitive plan of action was. But I think they wanted, so that if it becomes a law issue, that they go to the very end, because they can claim that they were trying, to negotiate and to get this thing worked out. But at the end of the day, Vince, by the way, I think if nothing happens with other conferences, which is extremely unlikely in the next few days, I think Florida State will wait until the last day to announce. I think if what we think is about to happen with the Pac-12 tonight, with the Board of Regents meetings and all these things happening, if tomorrow we wake up and 3 teams are in the Big 12, I think, Vince, that you get a FSU announcement and Clemson announcement as soon as next week, a few days before the 15th.
Yeah, you could. And they're quiet. FSU's never been, and I'm trying to stay out of the fray today. FSU has been kind of the redheaded stepchild of this conference since the beginning.
Yeah.
And FSU also has no problem being the villain.
Yeah.
And so, again, I think on our mantra, this is no inside info, which could be not correct, right? But No inside info. And I believe that it's known that that Florida, it was decided that Florida State was going to take these bullets, going to take these spears.
And we've been reporting on it the whole time. And I've had at minimum 3 reliable contacts on DMs confirm that what they're hearing the same things. And all of us have gotten it so far spot on. Now, the part where some people start to disagree, and Vince, I know you hate the guy, but Paul Finebaum today saying, FSU to the SEC with Clemson. Here's what's funny, by the way. What's Heather Dinich, right? I've never been a Heather Dinich fan.
We hit our ceiling.
What was kind of funny is Paul Finebaum kind of gave her the middle finger on that conversation because she says, where are they going to go? Florida State doesn't have a landing spot. I talked to Greg Sankey today, and he said that they're going to stick with their number. And Paul Finebaum laughed and said, Florida State and Clemson have a landing spot.
So as much as I don't listen, and if, again, my minimal interaction on Twitter today, one of the things, War Chant posted something, posted that interview with him or whatever. And I just thanked him, said, thank you very much. But I am not going to click on anything related to that, man. But I will say one thing. He's not going to say things unless he's an SEC shill. We all know that, but he also has information.
Yeah.
And so I'm okay with that. Immaculate said UNC and FSU are playing good cop, bad cop. You're probably right about that because, there was a reported quote from the UNC AD today, basically calling out FSU for barking in public about this stuff. UNC is the darling of this conference.
Oh, and we are, by the way, for those of you who don't realize, the best thing that could happen is North Carolina to announce they're leaving the conference because then it's over. Everything runs through Charlotte.
UNC does not want to be the linchpin. They would be the linchpin if they left.
Right.
UNC does not want to be the school that gets the ball rolling. This is a political thing. You don't want to do that. So, and again, conspiracy theory, whatever.
Yep.
UNC, they are all these schools. I don't care what they're saying publicly. Florida State is the only one that is honestly in public stating what the shadows are saying.
Yeah.
And they're okay with that. And I'm okay with that. Bring it on. Bring on the spears. Bring on the arrows. Because there's been a lot of them today. And a lot of it is due to hurt feelings. And I get it.
Yeah.
I get it because people are passionate about their schools. Journalists are passionate about they can say they're objective, but they're passionate, especially in small college towns. They're passionate about the programs they cover.
Yeah.
And we can all be nostalgic about the way college football used to be. We can be. I am because I'm an old man.
Yeah.
But it's different. We have to understand that things are going to be different, and we cannot hold on. There is all of these schools, Ryan. Not all of these schools. A large number of these schools, 8 to 9 of the schools in the ACC, should be clapping in their mind. They should be saying, it's about time a university steps forward and says, what we're getting provided here is not going to work.
Yeah, it sucks. And everyone knows it, but Florida State said, we're gonna take on the mantle. We're gonna be the one that, takes on the villain role. And that's fine. I like it. Listen, it's very much like how in 2014, like everyone, ESPN every week was like, man, Florida State somehow figured it out, way to win. And, that I can't believe they did it again. I like that villain role. It's always more fun. But like things like I've seen fans like from Wake Forest fans talking about, man, well, you guys haven't been any good as of recent. Are you sure you want to compete against SEC or Big Ten teams? You can't even compete against us. And all I have to do, Vince, is throw up the graphic of our record against every single team in the conference, which, by the way, we have a winning record since joining the ACC against every team in this freaking conference. And it's not even close. So for anyone who thinks that Florida State is somehow irrelevant because we had some down years from Willie Taggart and the first 2 years of Mike Norvell, we got last year, which is recent history. And in the last decade, we have a national championship and another undefeated season after that. All the graphs you see these people putting up on like Florida State and how they've been doing lately, it all stops at 2017.
Right.
And
well, yeah.
And you wonder, of course, it stops at 2017 because we literally went 13-0, 14-0, 10 wins, 10 wins. Like they would have no case. So it's just dumb. And that's why I've been trying not to reply. It's just dumb.
Yeah. And just so Mo and Vision, welcome. Mo, welcome. Yeah, I already don't like that man. And the Big Ten, my wife's family is all from that area of the country, Michigan fans. So they've been on my heart for a while anyway. So if that ends up where we're going, I'm all in. Yeah. But here's the deal. Yes, we haven't. Florida State fans know we've not been great lately. And this vitriol we're getting online, I say we, because I'm a fan.
Yeah.
The vitriol we're getting online is misplaced. And it's misplaced because they look at it as that we're whining. We're not whining. We just understand what's coming.
Yeah.
And we understand that because of the school, because of its history, because of the success, because of the decades of dominance.
Yeah.
That is the only reason we got the deal we got.
Yeah.
That deal was signed in, was it 2012, the original deal?
We signed in 2016, which Jimbo Fisher was untouchable at that time.
That's the only reason we're even getting that much.
Yeah.
I would say, I can't, okay, hold on. I don't want to sound too arrogant about this. There are other quality institutions in the conference, okay? Institutions that draw eyeballs.
Yeah.
Institutions that when the brand plays, people watch. It's not just Florida State. I get that. But during that time leading up to that deal, Florida State was really pretty much the only one doing anything.
Yeah, we were beating Clemson on the regular. We had gone 29 straight, that whole thing.
So, I mean, I get it. And I get it because they're passionate and there's an uneasiness because they don't know what comes next.
Yeah.
But you're really taking it out on the wrong people.
Well, they're also, Vince, they're saying the wrong thing. They're saying that we're just whining and why would anyone want us because of our struggles on the field. Vince, the only thing that matters right now, the only thing that matters in conference realignment is this. That's it.
Yeah. And thinking about this, what is this? What years are this? Is this? I can't even remember.
Yeah. So this is from 2014 to last year. So,
oh yeah, I see it now. Yeah.
All of the ACC network years, basically.
So if you think about it, and so all the daggers we're getting is all about, the last, 5 or 6 years, pretty much.
Yeah.
Even during that time, look at this graph.
Yep.
All of our conference brethren that may watch this video, maybe watching now, or they're going to watch later. This is why. It's not that Florida State is saying we're better than everybody else and we deserve more money. Wah, wah, wah. I want a candy bar. What we're saying is for all this time, the dollars that a lot of these teams have been getting in the conference when they did not want to spend money to enhance their programs in football, all that money they've been getting, you're welcome.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying. You're welcome.
I'll throw this one up there, Vince. This is even more interesting, right? Because if you're looking at some of the things that we're talking about, conference realignment, where we end up, this is very interesting, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it is. I'm laughing at this comment from Mo and Vision.
Yeah, that is a shame, Vince. We got to do something to the big house. Hey, we might be playing in the big house someday, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have a Michigan shirt that was given to me by family members, and it's still in my drawer. I've never worn it, but I will not throw it away because it was a gift.
So, but people,
Sorry, go
here's
back
what
to
people
this.
want
Sorry, Ryan. Go ahead.
to pay attention to is like the average viewers. And what's funny, if you pay attention real close, Vince, what do all the teams near the top of this graph have in common, Vince? Right now,
What do they all have in common?
they're all the most desired teams as far as like the teams that are still available to switch conferences. Oregon,
Right.
Washington, Florida State, Miami. We've been saying Va Tech for a while, by the way, that Va Tech is an actual good property. Utah, we've been saying Georgia Tech. You mentioned Georgia Tech last week as a good school that could go to one of the at least the big three
Yeah.
conferences. And then finally, like Clemson's doing all right. They don't pull as much as we do, but so all that performance stuff, yeah, we've lost 2 years in a row, 2 times in a row against Wake Forest. Whatever. Look how much. Where is Wake Forest? Look how far down the list they are.
Here, yes. Here, again, you can't engage everybody on social media that comes at you. You just can't, right?
Right.
But so many of them, what I want to say is imagine that you were a fan of Florida State.
Yep.
Would you look at what's going on right now and have the same decision or same attitude you have now? I can say if I was a fan of Wake Forest, what I would probably be like, yeah, why are you whining? But I would also have an understanding that, or a fear that, man, this could really go south.
Yeah. I need them to gently remove their Snuggy. I need them to fold up their Snuggy.
Nice.
I need them to stand on their track that goes around the field, and I want them to imagine.
He's really driving it home.
What would it feel like to be part of a major school which fills the stadiums and doesn't have Snuggy Hill? If they put themselves in our shoes, they would do the exact same thing. They're not in our shoes, so they're worried. Like, where are we going to end up? We're not going to be part of one of the major conferences anymore, and I get that, but it just goes to show you.
And listen,
we knew that this was going to come. We knew that the haters were coming for us on this.
Yes, and listen, there's like, well, why aren't you worried about the rest of the conference? We've been worried about the rest of the conference for how long? We've been in this conference now? 30 years?
Yeah.
Enough's enough, right?
Yeah.
30 years ago, Florida State, probably on its own, was trying to elevate the football mentality of this conference. They didn't want to hear it.
Yeah, basketball, right?
They didn't want to hear it. They didn't possibly think that basketball would be, overtaken to this degree.
Yeah.
And I got it. I mean,
yep.
I do. Hold on. I do feel bad. I feel bad for Wake Forest and Dukes because I'm a fan, and as a fan, I would hate that. Like, I have friends that are fans and alum of those schools. But when you were having all this extra money, what did you do with it?
Invest in basketball.
I don't know where it went.
Yeah.
Now Wake Forest will say, well, we beat Florida State X amount of times. Yes. On any given year, especially, when we're going through 2 coaching changes and COVID and all these other things, almost every program has down years. I would say all of them, because Alabama was down for quite a while.
In fact, people forget we beat Alabama Nick Saban's first year when he was trying to turn it around. Everyone gets their time.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be empathetic because I love college football. It's not just about Florida State. With me, it's about everything. It's about the passion. It's about the rivalries. It's about Saturdays and tailgating and all of that. I love it. I just love every bit of it. But things are different now.
Yeah.
And I am personally proud that whatever rivals want to say, we're whining, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. I am proud that our university understands what is coming.
Yeah.
And they are willing, and that's probably the thing we need to talk about next. They understand what is coming.
Yeah.
And they are willing to do what is necessary to address what is coming. There's a lot of folks out there saying, you're living in your fantasy world. There's no way out of the grant of rights. They may be right, Ryan. What our board of trustees said is that it doesn't matter. They're willing
to pony up.
And yes, we may take it on the chin for a while. Fine. If any of you had a job where you were being undervalued, and I mean, to a large degree,
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't $3 or $4 million. If you were being undervalued and you signed on, at some point you're like, enough's enough. There's no way you're going to keep doing that. There's just no way. I don't care what you say. There's all these people out there that say, you signed the agreement and you should fulfill it. Nobody's going to do that. And if you do that, if you're just going to lay in the background and let an agreement, a signed agreement, hold you hostage for another 13 years, you are not being of strong fiduciary responsibility to the organization that you are supposed to support. So they're willing to go and do. There may not be an out, Ryan.
Well, there is. It just costs a lot of money, and I think people are oblivious to the fact that schools the size of Florida State and businesses, let's be honest, a business the size of a Florida State, guys, they can get loans financed out over 30 years, just like a mortgage, and pay in installments and get sweetheart deals and good interest rates. Guys, they are willing. In that interview with Peter Collins and War Chant, he said the least of my concern is the grant of rights. If he means that, that means that it would be great if all these other things happen and other schools join and they all dissolve the conference, or we have a good lawsuit against them, and we win. That's great. That's awesome. What he's saying is, if that doesn't happen and we lose, we're willing to pay. And by that point, guess what? By the time we're paying, we're already in another conference. And we're already on our path to competing and being part of big time college football. We're willing to do that. Clemson's willing to do that. That's why we're tied at the hip right now. And I'm excited for it.
Yeah. I mean, and that's a lot of the other, stuff that's in, you talk about wanting to compete. Why haven't you can't compete with Wake Forest? It's not about right now.
Right.
People, it's not about right now. It's about when the SEC deal gets renegotiated and that's what this is about.
Yeah.
And again, it's a lot of hurt feelings out there, and I get it.
Yeah.
Anybody wants to engage in civil discourse about it, I'm willing to do it. I had a hard time putting my heart away earlier today.
Yeah.
But if you want to exchange in that's perfectly fine. The board of trustees is, I would say that at a minimum, like the worst case scenario is a negotiated settlement.
Yeah.
And you know what negotiated means? Negotiated means not the full amount.
Yeah. Because guess what? If they know Florida State's going to leave and it's going to, hurt the conference, they want to have a for sure amount of money that they're going to get, because they don't know. The ACC doesn't know that they're going to win the case. So if you've ever been sued, I hope you all haven't, but if you've ever been sued, I think like, Vince, isn't it like over 50% of lawsuits end in arbitration, like in mediation and an agreement?
No one wants a protracted legal debate. Like, no one wants that. It's too expensive to do that.
Right. So they'll settle, and it'll be a large amount still, but it won't be as large, and we'll finance it over 30 years. That's how you get out of the grant of rights. People are acting like a contract means that if you don't fulfill it, they're gonna like off your head in town square or something.
Right.
That's not how it works. You sue, you settle, you pay over a long period of time. We're going to be in another conference, and that goes to our final point in the in this whole conference realignment before we get into Florida State specific stuff, because there's a lot of other stuff going on in the Florida State sphere. What's next tonight? I believe that the three teams, Arizona, ASU, and Utah, they vote to leave the conference. I think we hear about it tomorrow, probably in the afternoon, Eastern time at least, because the West Coast teams. I think pretty close to following that, maybe next week. I think the Big Ten will announce that Oregon and Washington are joining the Big Ten. I don't think that at that time they'll announce Florida State and Clemson are, and people will be like, see, no. Florida State
can't.
And Clemson must announce they're leaving before anything can happen. So get that out of your heads, right?
Yeah, they can't do that.
It would be suicide for them, because they would then be liable in a lawsuit. So they're going to let us announce, and once we announce, and by the way, once we say, hey, we intend to leave, then if anything comes out after that, we say we intend to join the Big Ten, okay, then it's no longer tampering, because we've already made our announcement. So we made our intentions clear legally, and now we're going to pursue another conference. We can work the lawsuit out while we're saying we're in another conference. That's not a problem.
And we're not naive. We all know these discussions have been happening in the back channels forever, but you can't say those words out loud.
Yeah, you just can't.
You just can't do it. So, I believe you're right, Ryan. I believe at the very minimum, Arizona State at the minimum are tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I'm not one to usually put dates on things, so you guys know that about me.
Yeah, you're cautious.
I'm very cautious. Utah is a weird animal, right? So I'm not really sure about that one. But anyway, going back to the Florida State thing, last week, we were talking about what was our percentages. You were at 60%.
Yeah.
I was below 50%. I'm probably right where you were last week, 60 to 70%.
I'm at 100.
I'm pretty confident that before the 15th, that Florida State will state their intentions that they do not intend to be in the Atlantic Coast Conference next year.
Right.
That doesn't mean that you are going to hear about it publicly.
I think it'll leak.
Well, for sure will leak, but it's not like it's going to be some big parade in Tallahassee.
Yeah, it'll ESPN, will report, Florida State informs the ACC they're leaving the conference. It'll that kind of stuff is impossible to keep away, and Florida State themselves will leak it.
Yeah, the reason why my percentages have gone up dramatically is because the assuredness of the words that were said in that meeting, and one of the things that was said is about an exit plan in the next 12 months.
An exit plan, which told me, Vince, some people took that to mean let's come up with a plan. That told me an exit plan to be out of the conference at the end of that 12 months.
Hey, Ryan, we may be wrong. But
I'm not wrong.
but the confidence of those words and the alignment of the board of trustees, raised, again, like I said, it was almost like the first comment that was said was like, wow, that's enough for me. And then there was another comment. And then there was another comment. And it was like, oh. And at the end, I'm going like, this is a done deal. I mean, we already knew we were leaving. I think the last show I was on, I had said, is that I anticipated us to be gone by 2026 at the latest.
Yeah.
And that was me being very conservative.
Yeah,
it could be, people. It could be that it's next year.
Vince, what was my prediction last week? I said we would soft announce at the Board of Trustees meeting. We would publicly announce by the 15th, and that we would be in a new conference at the beginning of next season. That's what my prediction was, and I stand by that. I 100% think that's going to happen. Welcome, FJ243.
Yeah,
good to have you.
I don't know what that means, but I love the name.
Well, I think he's talking about David Hale.
No, I mean his name.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Hale is so smug. I mean, I usually enjoy his stuff, but again, like
even the Winston coverage.
Well, I mean, that's so long ago, man. That's water under the bridge. I mean, what he said, he didn't say anything that wasn't true. right? But I think it's hard for people that are not covering this program
Day to day, yeah.
day to day to see how resolute the organization is to get something done. And so I could understand why people would say it's a fantasy. I think he was the one that said, the gore is ironclad. There's no getting out of it.
Except for the money and settlements. And
it's not about getting away scot-free.
Yeah.
It's about saying, we don't care what it says. We have to do something.
Yeah. But Vince, I think we can tie a nice bow. We've talked 50 minutes and we've talked the entire week.
I'm getting heated, Ryan.
We've talked the whole week about conference realignment with 50 minutes in the show, and that's all we've covered. A couple things that we want to mention, some recruiting items, because there is some big stuff. So Charles Lester, big commitment, 5-star. And then it just kept on coming, man. We get the OL flip from USC, which was
Manassi ITT.
Yeah, I'm glad you pronounced it, not me.
I think that's right. I have no idea.
Vince.
Manassi ITT. He's a flip from USC out west, the USC out west, formerly of the Pac-12. That was really, everybody thought he was going to commit to Florida State. He went out to a visit out there and committed almost immediately, but the coaches stayed on him. He's now flipped back to us. And I think that was always kind of thought that might happen. So, for sure. And he's big time.
Yeah. And then we had Collins, just a 3-star, but hey, every single one of these has added up to, if you go on 3, we're the number 5 class. If you go on 247, we're the number 6 class. And guess what? Saturday, KJ Bolden is going to pick between us, Auburn, and UGA. And guys, I honestly, it's a coin toss because apparently he's been favorable comments have been made equally about all the schools involved. The only place we know he's not going likely is Alabama, because even though they were on the list, like most people think that's done. But I'm not going to be shocked where he goes. If FSU, however, because the points math, I looked up like what that would be worth. If FSU landed KJ Bolden, that would make us, Vince, the number 3 class in the country.
Yeah, I think I did that too. It's 3 or 4, depending on which service you looked at.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's neck and neck. And hey, fans, if you're FSU fans watching this, if we don't get KJ Bolden,
it's fine.
First of all, it's not over.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't signed anything yet. And secondly, you're not going to get everybody.
Yeah.
You're just not going to get everybody. We've had a great run in July, right, man? It's been great. But you're just not going to get it. It's the way recruiting works.
Now, is he electric? And we would love to have him, of course. So
absolutely.
Saturday, we'll all be hoping together that he picks the Garden Gold. Now, there's been a lot of noise. I mean, because there's been players that he's close with that have been on Twitter saying it's time to do what we've always wanted to do. He's been a Florida State fan his whole life. Like there's a lot of positive momentum, but it's recruiting. You just never know. Look at that expert mute.
Good mute. That's a good mute, man. Right on the button.
So Vince, kick us off with fall coverage.
Yeah, it's been tough to follow that, Ryan, because I've been so locked in with the realignment stuff. All I can say about fall camp is, it started today, right? And it started today, and there were a couple players. I think there were some people worried about Fabo because he had a boot on recently, but he came out without a boot. And I think there were some other people that people expected to have green jerseys on that didn't. And so that's good. There was some Destin Hill kick return sightings.
Destin Hill, Hakeem Williams. That's what I mean about the kick. Like, we're fine. I mean, the wide receiver room, I'm so excited about it. So excited.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just a great day. Today's a great day. And obviously today's the first day, so there's not really a lot to report yet on fall camp.
They're just running around.
Running around doing some things, right?
Yeah.
But there'll be plenty more to talk about as the days and weeks go by here. But I think that's the main thing. If there were any concern about a couple people in terms of green jerseys or injuries or boots or whatever, it didn't seem to carry over into the first day of fall camp. And all the reports, the people who are there that Ryan and I follow, have all been, and it's the first day. I get it, right? Everybody looks great. Everybody's faster. Everybody's bigger. Everybody's whatever. But today was a great first day.
Yeah.
Let's see what tomorrow brings.
And Vince, I know because it's kind of been distracting, right? Because we've been so distracted by the conference realignment thing. That's why I'm glad the Board of Trustees did what they did yesterday, so that I could stop just refreshing message boards every 5 seconds. Because now I know what the intention is. I know what's going to happen. And we're just going to wait. Honestly, I'm not hyper focusing on Twitter right now because I think the next thing that happens will be pretty official and you'll see it everywhere. But one thing I want to bring up, kind of cool, Vince. It's kind of the unofficial start of football season tonight. The NFL Hall of Fame game starts in 5 minutes.
I wasn't even aware.
Yeah, local channel. So I think Cleveland Browns versus, I don't remember who they're playing, but the
Cleveland
first
Browns. Yeah, Cleveland Browns versus some other team that I'm not going to watch tonight.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it after this, Vince. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't watch all the preseason games, but there's something special about seeing the graphics, hearing the sounds of the NFL, and just knowing that football, camp started, football starting, Hall of Fame game, conference realignment, we got it all here. So, and if you want to keep up to date, guys, obviously follow Gar and Old. You can find us on YouTube, Twitter, really everywhere. You see it there on the screen. But also search your college sports connection, YCSC connection.
YCS connection. Yeah.
It's honestly, we have people in our network and they all have their own shows and they all cover a lot of different teams. So it's likely that one of your favorite teams or favorite conferences is being covered by the group of us. And we really want some, I guess, share the love with our partners. So please subscribe to Your College Sports Connection, Gar and Old. Thank you to everyone for commenting tonight. We had a ton of comments. It's really great to see the interaction. Vince, just for the end of the show, do you want to toss up the Fishweir Brewing Company?
Oh, yeah. Graphic? God, I was so tied into what we were doing there. I totally forgot about this. Yeah, so, as we announced about a month ago now, Garnet and Old is going to be doing some live events at Fishweir Brewing Company in Jacksonville, Florida. This is our first live event for away games. We're going to be doing it on September 16th for the Boston College game and October 28th for the Wake Forest game. The owners of Fishweir Brewing are rock solid Noles, and they are excited to have Garnet and Old there. They have a very tasty Garnet and Golden Ale that they start brewing probably soon, right? I think at the end of August is when they break the seal on that. And so if you're in the Jacksonville area, Northeast Florida area, and you love the Noles, this is the place to be for an away game. September 16th for Boston College, October 28th for Wake Forest.
And I don't want to say, Vince, that it might be true. I just don't want to say it definitively. But I'm pretty sure we're one of the very, very few Florida State shows that are locally based in Jacksonville, Florida. This is, for those of you who don't know, Gator Town, like Jacksonville, Florida. We're about an hour away from Gainesville. It sickens my stomach every time I go into Target.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough
Gator
here.
Stuff everywhere. At Costco, there's Gator tents and nothing Florida State. So we're holding our own here, and we want you to hang out with us at those two live events at the Fishweir Brewing Company. Join the Jacksonville Zone Gar and Old show, right? And look at our fall schedule. We're jam-packed. Every Thursday, we do a live show. All of you here, thank you for joining tonight. When we're on home games, pre and post game, man, we're going to have you covered. That includes Vince will be live on site at the LSU game. I will be live on site at the Clemson game. And we will, in some form or fashion, be live and on site in Lot 12 the rest of the games. And then for those two away games at Fishweir Brewing Company, we are partnering with them. Even if we don't go to the Fishweir Brewing Company for every away game, you better believe we're going to have pre and post game reaction. So please like and subscribe. Gar and Old. No inside info, no contacts, no problem. Go Noles, Vince.
Go Noles.